Hey, what is going on guys? Danny here, hope you've all been doing well. In this video, I wanted to discuss all the leaks and rumors surrounding NVIDIA's next generation GeForce graphics cards. I would have liked to make a video like this earlier, however when it comes to NVIDIA with their consumer products, we usually don't start seeing concrete leaks until a few days or a week before a big announcement. NVIDIA is usually pretty good at being tight-lipped about their upcoming products, and that was prevalent here as a lot of us just didn't know what was coming or when it was coming. The leaks and rumors prior to these past couple of weeks were just all over the place. For starters, a lot of us just weren't sure on whether Nvidia's next gaming graphics cards would be based upon the Volta architecture. I mean, this was the assumption for this past year, and only grew more stronger when Nvidia released the Titan V late last year. But when we started to hear about Ampere and Turing, that Nvidia would be releasing a whole different architecture for their gaming line of graphics cards, then things just started to get really confusing. So we have Volta, Ampere, and Turing, three different architectures. There was a lot of debate also going on as to what their next generation GPUs would be called. Would it be the 11 series, or would it be the 2000 series or 20 series? There was very little information to go on, and I thought it would be best to just sit tight and wait until Nvidia themselves at least gave us some more information. Finally, on July 30th, 2018, Nvidia announced that on Gamescom 2018, they would hold a special GeForce celebration event. This event will be filled with awesome new PC games running on the latest GeForce hardware, cool stage presentations, food and drinks, and some spectacular surprises. Once they had announced it, it was quite apparent that they would finally be showing off their next generation graphics cards, or at the very least, discuss the next architecture and series with a release date to come later. I did have some doubts though, because back at Computex 2018, Jensen, Nvidia's CEO, said they're a long time from now. He never specified any dates, just that I assumed a long time from now meant that we would probably see new hardware until late 2018 or early as 2019, as I thought they would just continue to milk Pascal as much as they can. Now on August 10th, Jim from AdoredTV posted a video to his channel called NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080, and in that video, he discussed a leak where someone claiming to work at NVIDIA gave him some information regarding their next generation graphics cards. I thought it was a pretty intriguing video, and I'll leave a link down in the video description so you can check it out for yourself. Basically, NVIDIA would be branding their higher end graphics cards as RTX instead of GTX, as they would be capable of using some ray tracing features, and their mid-range and lower-end graphics cards, the successors to the 1050 Ti and 1060, would remain as GTX. This sort of segmentation was quite disappointing to see, and I would have liked to see all the cards with the RTX naming scheme, but Nvidia is in a position where they can pull this sort of stuff, so I'm not surprised to see that here. Jim also talked about pricing, performance targets, memory configurations, and release dates. A few days later at SIGGRAPH, Nvidia held a conference aimed towards the professional segment, where they talked about ray tracing and its capabilities. Some of the demos that Nvidia showed off were quite impressive, and they looked great. They also launched their Quadro RTX GPUs based on the Turing architecture. Now Turing, when compared to Pascal, is much bigger because it's also utilizing tensor cores and their new RT cores. So when comparing it to Pascal, it looks like Nvidia has done quite a lot of work into putting these new graphical features which can further enhance visual fidelity. I definitely think it's worth checking out if you want a more in-depth look at Turing and ray tracing, as I think ray tracing is a great piece of technology that Nvidia have developed. But with all that said, Nvidia still didn't say a word about their upcoming GeForce graphics cards for gamers and mainstream consumers, which I believe they're going to hold off until Gamescom. However, Nvidia's GeForce channel on YouTube posted a teaser video. In that video, a lot of Nvidia GeForce branding can be seen with cases and GPUs and things like that, and there were some subtle hints dropped about their upcoming graphics cards. At one point in the video, you can see a Discord chat box, and you can see some usernames of those involved in that conversation. One of the users' username is not_11, and another person is responding by saying, "Just eating, give me 20. Another user's username is Viotek, with the RTX in cap locks, implying that their next generation graphics cards will be called RTX and will be called the 20 series. There was also a new Twitter account created called Before the Game, where the account has been posting vague graphics and pictures from past popular gaming titles with similar hints dropped, implying the same stuff, that there's a new generation of graphics cards right around the corner, and they'll be called the 20 series. Moving on, 3D Mark's benchmark database, there was a Firestrike benchmark result discovered there that apparently showed a GTX 2060 5GB that apparently achieved 22,555 graphics score. This score is comparable to moderately overclocked GTX 1080s. What's weird is that the information regarding clocks, cores, TDP, etc. was just reported as 0 for both the CPU and GPU, so not sure if this was a rigged result. The name does correlate with what we saw from Jim's leak, however. Performance is a lot higher though. That leak stated that the 2060 would be faster than a 1060, but slower than a 1070. However, here we see the 2060 offering performance that's comparable to a 1080. So this situation is similar to what we saw with the 1060 matching the 980. I wonder if going from Pascal to Turing would be a repeat of going from Maxwell to Pascal. Because if that's the case, then the 2060 would be an excellent card for its price. Now today on VideoCardz, they had posted a bunch of leaked images that showcased AIB's next generation graphics cards with new custom coolers. Now the most surprising leak, which definitely threw a lot of people off, was the inclusion of a 2080 Ti. It's surprising because usually the Ti cards aren't released with the X80 or X70 cards at the start. Usually those cards are released first, and then you'll see those cards like 6 to 10 months later. But I can see a few good reasons for why they have actually included the Ti cards right from the start. For starters, Pascal was on the market for a very long time already. Usually graphics card series are on the market for about 14 to 18 months before we see a new series come and replace them. However, the 1080 launched in May of 2016, so we've been long overdue for a new series of graphics cards. Now I did hear rumors that NVIDIA had originally planned to release Turing way back in the first quarter of 2018. However, they had further pushed it back because of the whole crypto mining boom, and if NVIDIA had released new GPUs then, it would have been a whole disaster with availability and price hikes and things like that. Therefore, instead of releasing just the 2080 and 2070 first, it looks like they're probably going to be releasing the full stack of cards right from the start. The other reason why I think they did this, I believe these new 20 series graphics cards are going to be quite short-lived. The reason why I say that is because they are using the 12nm process that's going to be replaced by 7nm next year. That would mean a whole new series. Usually what happens is that you'll get the X80 cards initially, then you'll see the Ti cards 8 to 10 months later, as they can spread out the releases over a year or so. However, with the 20 series on 12nm, I don't think that's going to be the case. I feel like with the 20 series that's being short-lived, we'll see a new graphics card series from NVIDIA next summer, so they can be on the latest node shrink. VideoCardz also released some specifications of the upcoming 2080 Ti and 2080. These cards will have the same memory configurations as their previous generation counterparts, except they'll be using higher bandwidth G6 memory. In terms of CUDA cores, it looks like the 2080 Ti will have 768 more CUDA cores than the 1080 Ti, and the 2080 will have 384 more CUDA cores than the 1080. Since these cards are on the 12nm process, which is a more refined 16nm process from TSMC, it makes sense that these would be much larger chips with more stream processors. In terms of pricing though, not a whole lot of information has been leaked, but I expect there to be some kind of a markup on these cards. Right now, NVIDIA is in that position to do whatever they want due to the lack of competition. If you are an enthusiast who wants the absolute best performance, you're looking at pushing a high resolution, high refresh rate monitor, then it looks like NVIDIA will be your only option, and they know this. But who really knows for sure, as with all leaks and rumors, just take this with a grain of salt. Well guys, that wraps up this one. Like and subscribe, leave your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one.